Okay, good morning, everybody. And I want to thank you all for being here. Thank my colleagues. Mark Kelly is here, and we expect Senators Murphy and Klobuchar as well, but we're going to get started. And thanks also to our friends who are here today, Tyrese McAllister, Angela Weber, and Aia Eastman for joining us. Each of these folks painfully know and live each day with the impacts of gun violence. Also, we have here folks from Giffords, Brady, United, Everytown Survivor Network, Moms Demand Action, and Newtown Action Alliance. Now, right now, Senate Republicans, just in obeisance to the right-wing gun lobby, are working to pass a devastating bill that would cut off 16 million Americans from health care, rip food away, and skyrocket costs for American families. But in obeisance to the gun lobby, they didn't stop there. As we speak, for absolutely no conceivable reason, they're trying once again to jam through a reckless, extreme giveaway to the gun lobby that endangers our kids, betrays law enforcement, and leads to more gun deaths. Deep in their so-called beautiful bill, their big beautiful bill, quote unquote, Republicans snuck a radical provision to reverse a rule on silencers that have been around for almost a century. Almost a century. And now they're trying to undo it in the reconciliation bill. I want to assure the American people, Senate Democrats are going to fight this dangerous provision using every available tool, including to try to strike it in the birdbath. We have very strong arguments to just knock this out altogether in the birdbath. Parents don't want to see silencers on their streets. Police officers don't want to see silencers on their streets. Only the gun lobby wants to flood our communities with silencers, and that's what Republican bill would do. Who wants a silencer? Not the average citizen. They're law-abiding. Not our police officers. They're against these provisions that allow anyone to get a silencer. The only people who want silencers are criminals. Because they don't want people to hear their bad, horrible, deadly deeds. That's the only people who want it, except for the right-wing Republicans and then the rest of the Republicans in the House who just bowed down because some fanatics wanted it in the House, some extreme handful of fanatics, and let them go along with it so they could get their votes on this big, beautiful, ugly, ugly, ugly bill. There's nothing common sense, nothing, making silencers easier to buy, easier to make, easier to use in crimes. I say to the Republicans who slipped this silencer sneak attack into their bill, shame on you. You have no reason, no rationale for doing this. Shame on you, Republicans, for putting the gun lobby over our kids. Shame on you for endangering our families, for endangering law enforcement, for adding fuel to the fire in America's gun epidemic. Police departments across America have been clear that silencers make their jobs harder. That's why many departments have historically opposed regulation that deregulates them, as this proposal does. These are the police talking. These devices make it harder to hear gunfire. That means they delay police response time, make it easier for criminals to get away with murder, literally. You can't call yourself pro-law enforcement while voting to put more silencers in criminals' hands. It's that simple. You cannot. You can't call yourself anti-violence if you want to put silencers in criminals' hands. Plain and simple. It'll be, if this happens, if Republicans get their way, it'll be open season for criminals with silencers. It'll be harder for police to do their jobs, harder to catch criminals, harder to solve gun crimes. Gun deaths will rise, Police officers will be put at risk. Innocent people will die. And why are Republicans doing it? Because they're in the pocket of the radical gun lobby. This is a radical, extreme idea. Most gun owners would not support it, is my guess. I think the polling data would show that. The Republicans are in the pocket of the radical gun lobby, and they're putting gun lobby profits over the lives of kids, the lives of communities. It's sick, it's morally bankrupt, it's extreme. Democrats will fight this provision with everything we have. And now I want to introduce our first speaker. We're mixing our speakers and our legislative speakers and our non-legislative speakers, people who have courage to come forward and tell their stories because they know how bad this is. Senator Klobuchar, welcome. And I want to get my notes here so I introduce Aia properly. Aia Eastman, Aia Eastman is the current cultural community manager at Brady. Aia is a 2019 Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School graduate in Parkland, Florida. We all know what happened there. On February 14th, she was in the third classroom attacked by a gunman who murdered 17 people. Turning her pain into action, a brave, courageous thing. It's easier to curse the darkness than light a candle. Aia has dedicated her life to preventing gun violence in America. Aia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Schumer, and all the champions here today. My name is Aia Eastman. I'm a founding member of Brady's Team Enough. 6.5 minutes of constant gunfire. 6.5 minutes is all it took for our hallways and classrooms in Parkland to become a war zone. To witness my classmates murdered right in front of me, with 34 people shot and 17 killed, majority children. Now imagine if the perpetrator had a silencer. Students and teachers wouldn't have been able to recognize the sound of gunfire. And it is chilling to think of how many more of my schoolmates would have been hurt or possibly killed. This is a nightmare that is possible if President Trump's tax bill passes through the Senate with its deadly provisions to deregulate gun silencers. Let me be clear, this provision will cause more people to be killed. When a shooter is stalking the hallways of your school or the halls of a movie theater or grocery stores, every second counts. A gunman in Virginia Beach used a silencer to kill 12 people. The muffled noises meant that most people didn't flee. They didn't even know a mass shooting was happening. Now, gun lobby-backed politicians are using this bill to make these deadly devices cheaper and available without so much as a background check. This is unfathomable and frankly despicable. That our elected officials are putting constituents at risk and prioritizing gun industry profits over people and children. We cannot accept this attack on our safety, and please join me in demanding our senators to refuse gun lobby handouts in exchange for our lives. Don't wait until it impacts you. Thank you.
We now have Senator Klobuchar, who's been a great advocate on this issue.
I'll let these guys go first. I came last.
Okay, then we'll have Senator Murphy, also a great advocate against gun violence.
But I am going to go stand in the shade where Mark Kelly's head is being protected.
He's smart. He's smart. Think ahead. Well, it's certainly not a contest. We're really proud to stand with all of the advocates and survivors behind us. Aia, thanks for speaking truth to power. None of us will know what that experience is like to have lived through that kind of horror. And to think that there are colleagues who have asked to represent this country, who are on the verge of making these mass shootings 2 or 3 times worse, shocks the conscience. I want you to imagine how much more death and destruction will happen in a mass shooting if no one can hear the gunshots. Think about how many more classrooms that shooter can get into. Think about how many more movie theaters that shooter could move to. Think about how many more rooms in the church that mass murderer might get to. Silencers are the tools of killers. They are the tools of criminals. Period. Stop. And so if we want to save lives in this country, we have to find a way, come hell or high water, to stop the mass legalization of silencers in this country. So thank you to Senator Schumer for making this such a priority, for devoting all of his energy and resources to using every tool that we have, whether it be parliamentary or public pressure, to make sure that this provision is dropped from a budget bill. It has nothing to do with the budget. This is about doing a favor to the gun lobby. Because let's just understand what the facts are today. In America today, you actually can buy a silencer, but you have to go through a rigorous background check to make sure that only the most responsible people can buy a attachment to a gun that is primarily designed for crime. And so there is a process today you can go through if for whatever reason you have a legitimate purpose to have a silencer. And so for the last 90 years, there has been a mechanism by which the right people can get this technology. But the gun industry sees enormous profit in taking the background checks and the controls off the sale of silencers, because they know there's a big criminal market out there. They know that there are a whole lot of people who want to do mischief, who want to create mayhem, who want to commit murder. And the gun industry is agnostic as to the purpose you are using your gun. The gun industry is willing to sell to criminals just as it is willing to sell to law-abiding citizens who are buying a weapon to protect their home or to shoot for sport. And so this isn't about trying to make sure that responsible people can get their hands on this technology, because they can already. This is about removing the controls that we have today to make sure that only the right people get their hands on this technology, so that the wrong people can get their hands on this technology. So again, let me just thank my colleagues, but in particular, thank the folks behind us. You know, we make these arguments, but the only reason that we were able to pass the first significant anti-gun violence legislation in 30 years, 3 years ago, the only reason that the NRA has come up empty over the last decade when they've been asking for their wish list is because of this movement. It's because there have been brave and courageous survivors, moms and dads, kids, students who have spoken up and spoke truth to power. So again, Senator Schumer and to Everytown, thank you for convening us here today. I have faith that we will win this fight. And listen, if we don't, if for some reason they're able to sneak gun policy into a reconciliation bill, well, then we'll learn that lesson. And maybe the next time that we have power, we'll be able to change the gun laws of this country a little bit easier to reflect the will of the people. We'll fight this, but and hopefully win. But if we don't, then we'll learn lessons from this moment and how the rules are and how the rules might change on reconciliation.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chuck.
And as Chris outlined, the people behind us are the ones who really motivate everybody and have helped us win. I was the author of the Brady Law and the assault weapons ban in the 1990s, 1994, and it was only because of people like you, your predecessors, that we got that done. And because we got that done, there are literally hundreds of thousands of people alive today who would be dead. So thank you for that. And I also just want to say to Aia and Angela, who we'll hear from in a minute, and then Tyrese, it's not easy to do what you're doing, given what you've gone through. But the scriptures tell us a rare person, most people when faced with such truly unfathomable evil, curse the darkness. They just curse the darkness, and that's the rest of their lives, unfortunately. You don't blame them at all. But it's the rare person, almost the saint-like person, who lights a candle. And all of you, and particularly the three of you who are talking, who are giving truth to power, are lighting that candle. So thank you. Our next person we're going to hear from is Angela Weber of the Newtown Action Alliance. After losing 3 family members to gun violence, 3, and her son surviving this Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Angela has dedicated herself to gun violence prevention. Angela, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Schumer. My name is Angela Weber, and on February 14th, while driving less than a mile from my son's school in Parkland, I received a panicked call from my neighbor. A gunman armed with an AR-15 assault rifle was shooting up the campus of our son's high school. Confusion erupted, and after exiting classrooms in response to the fire alarm, students ran away from the sound of gunfire in an attempt to save their lives. 17 students and educators were murdered that day. 17 more were wounded, and our entire community was traumatized. Had the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooter had a silencer, he would have had an even greater tactical advantage to ambush and kill unsuspecting victims. Silencers are designed to increase lethality by muffling the recognizable sound of gunfire. This confuses victims and responding law enforcement, making it difficult for them to recognize the sound of gunfire, detect where the shots are coming from, and react to save their lives and the lives of others. Despite the risk they pose to public safety, the gun industry continues to prioritize profits over public safety in an attempt to rebrand silencers as harmless safety devices. This is a lie. The American arms industry is working to remove regulatory barriers so they can capitalize on a new revenue stream with high profit margins at the expense of our lives. For 91 years, silencers have been regulated under the National Firearms Act, which served as a barrier to prevent mass shooters in Buffalo, New York and Lewiston, Maine from accessing silencers prior to their horrific massacres. But the Senate reconciliation bill rips open deadly loopholes, allowing silencers to circumvent the rigorous background checks Americans overwhelmingly support. I stand with the 74% of Senate battleground voters who agree that silencers should never be sold without a background check. Current regulation requirements have been highly effective in preventing silencers from falling into the wrong hands. Any senator who supports a budget reconciliation bill that deregulates silencers is completely and shamefully disregarding public safety. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is probably someone who knows more about the pain of gun violence than just about any other member of Congress, and that's Mark Kelly.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is important, but I also think kind of a somber day to contemplate what Republicans in Congress are trying to do here with regards to silencers. As I look around the crowd here, you know, there's members of the press and staff members and certainly members of groups like the group founded by myself and Gabby Giffords and Newtown Action Alliance, Moms Demand Action. And you guys know this issue well. But I also notice people that are just walking up. And I've seen a lot of puzzled looks on people's faces as they listen to and try to comprehend what we're actually talking about here. The legalization of silencers, allowing people to buy a silencer without a background check. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. It's kind of crazy that we're contemplating doing this. At least our Republican colleagues are. Hey, I've been fighting this fight for almost 10 years now, and this issue is rather personal to me. My wife Gabby was shot in the head as a member of Congress while meeting with her constituents. There were 12 other people injured. There were 6 people killed. Happened all in about 15 seconds, the entire event. And just think for a second if that gunman had a silencer and people didn't quite understand what was happening in that moment because they did not hear the gunshots. I think it's fair to say more people would have been killed and more would have been injured. But this is also personal for me because of my parents. They were both police officers, my mom and my dad. And they went to work every single day, understanding that this could be their last day, putting their lives on the line to keep other people safe. And there are hundreds of thousands of cops that do that every single day in our country. And this is an incredible disservice to every single one of those police officers. Now, here in Washington, D.C. and in other cities across the country, we have a system called ShotSpotter. Most people don't know about it. It detects gunshots. And the police are notified where in the city gunshots are happening so they could go and send first responders, send law enforcement to stop other people getting killed. These silencers circumvent that system. That system will no longer be effective when a gunman has a silencer. I also want you to consider this. Back in 2017, there was a shooting at the Congressional baseball game practice. I don't know if Chris was actually there or not. He plays on the team, or did. But there was a shooting at the practice. There was also a hearing to consider this exact idea that same day. They canceled that hearing on that day. Members of Congress heard gunshots. They heard them. But now they're suggesting this free-for-all on silencers. This is wrong, and it puts lives at risk. Kids going to school will be at greater risks if Republicans take this step. So I urge my Senate colleagues to consider people's lives. Don't consider the resources that you get from gun organization, gun lobbying. Consider people's lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Our next speaker is Tyrese McAllister from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. She's a part of the Moms Demand Action and a fellow with the Everytown Survivor Network. She's a therapist, a trainer, an author, an anti-gun violence advocate. Her youngest daughter, Aia, was killed by gun violence in 2017. Tyrese, another person lighting that candle, has been fighting gun violence ever since through the Aia J. McAllister Legacy Foundation, established to address everyday gun violence that occurs. And one more thing people should know, we asked the leaders of each of the groups who are here to come forward, and they said no. We want people who have actually been victimized by gun violence, and we salute you for that. Thank you. Our next speaker is Tyrese McAllister.
Good afternoon. I stand before you today with my heart heavy with grief as I speak on behalf of my daughter, Aia J. McAllister, who was a victim of gun violence in 2017. But I don't just stand here as a mother for my daughter. I stand here as a mother of all children. I don't want anyone to have to go through what I went through having to bury my child. It is with outrage that in the face of this epidemic, funding for gun violence prevention programs have been dramatically stripped away across our nation. This blatant disregard for human life reflects a profound disrespect for our communities and the young people we strive to protect. Companies in the gun industry continuously contribute to this problem by promoting weapons that are increasingly promoting accessible and dangerous means, including silencers that make it easier to harm our children and our community. The killing of our children is a crisis that demands our collective anger and relentless action. We can no longer stand by in silence with our government when our government fails to reform the gun industry. I want to thank the senators for pulling this conference together to educate and inform everyone about gun violence and about the silencers. Not all of our government is in support of the silencer or the other things that are happening in the gun violence industry. Please let Aia's legacy be one that is of empowerment. Together, let us strive to end gun violence, demanding respect for our everyday lives and advocate fearlessly. Thank you.
You have advocated fearlessly. Thank you. Our last speaker is another great advocate, somebody who understands the needs of police officers and advocates that in our caucus, and who understands the needs to have rational laws for gun safety.
Thank you. Thanks, Chuck. What an honor to be up here with all these fierce advocates and my colleagues who've done so much. I just keep thinking about this bill. I call it the big, beautiful betrayal. It's a betrayal of the middle class with the cuts to Medicaid, throwing people off of food assistance, putting debt on the shoulders of our children. But it's also a betrayal to law enforcement and public safety. As my colleague spoke, I just kept thinking, how low can the White House get? Then making it easier to get silencers for guns, which will certainly kill more people. No alerts, it's a silencer. I was thinking about when we've had horrific shootings in the past, and every single time we have been disappointed by what our colleagues won't do. After Sandy Hook, Chris, those families from your state in my office having to find out that day that our Republican colleagues would not stand up to pass a sensible background check bill. After Parkland, when I was in the Oval Office with the president, with then President Trump, and I still have the piece of paper where I had hashtags, and I wrote down 9 times he said he would support background checks. He said it to former Senator Feinstein. He said it to the people gathered there. It is all on video. Instead, we did do one thing, though. We passed my school safety bill with Senator Grassley that has put millions and millions of dollars into school safety, something the Sandy Hook families had advocated for. So even then, we did something that helped. Or the work that was done on a bipartisan basis for the community gun bill that Chris was so involved in, Senator Schumer was so involved in. And I thank the Giffords Foundation and Mark for pushing the legislation that I led to close the boyfriend loophole that was a major part of that bill. So every single time, we've at least done small things. This is backwards. This is backwards. When you heard the witness of our incredible leaders back here, we know that silencers have been used in mass shootings. In some cases, survivors, like those from the 2019 Virginia Beach shooting that killed 12 people, reported that they didn't get out of harm's way because they didn't even know shots were fired. One of the survivors said, if it was a regular gun shop, we would have definitely known a lot sooner, even if we would have had 30 or 60 seconds more. 30 seconds more. I think we could have secured ourselves. All of us could have barricaded ourselves in. But instead of looking out for the safety of the American people, the Republicans have shown that they care more about gun companies' profits than people's lives. The American people and those that have just joined us, as Mark pointed out, understand, why would you make people less safe? Why would you make it easier to get gun silencer? We are committed to keeping Americans safe from gun violence. And I come from a big hunting state. So every time I look at these things, I say, does this help my Uncle Dick in the deer stand? Does he need a gun silencer in the deer stand? No, he doesn't. You can still have a proud tradition of hunting and have guns for collection and protection and sport without silencers.
Thank you, Amy. Well, thank you, everybody. I just want to tell the group here one thing, and that is there's an arcane process in the Senate on reconciliation called the bird bath. It means if it really is not connected to raising money or raising or cutting taxes, then it should be eliminated because it doesn't belong. We are challenging this provision in the bird bath, in the bird provision, and we feel we have the arguments on our side because this was not done to raise money for the government. It was done to just to change the law and pay obeisance to the gun lobby. So we feel very hopeful that we can get this even knocked out in the next few days. Okay? Thank you. Okay, questions on this subject? Yes.
Senator, what's your response to the new CBO report this morning showing that this bill would hurt the lowest income Americans and would help the highest income?
The bottom line is this bill is so backwards and inside out. As we've all said, it betrays the working people of America by raising taxes on poor people and decreasing taxes on the very wealthiest people. None of us have anything against, well, I don't have anything against billionaires. Oh, they made a lot of money. But they don't need a tax break, especially when it's on the back of the poorest, neediest people in America. It's un-American. The American people oppose it. The more they learn about this bill, the more they hate it. And we are going to continue to keep the heat on them. Okay? Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.